Have you ever gotten off an interview and thought, man, that was a nothing burger waste of time because that candidate was unqualified? Yeah, so have I. So we came up with a solution to that. So I'm going to take you through exactly the steps that we follow to make sure that we don't have really terrible interviews. So we're going to dive in and just show you exactly how to do this to avoid any wasted time and get a candidate that you actually really want to hire. Let's dive in. You can see this screen. It looks very familiar to you, I'm sure. It's just a scheduling application. We're using Calendly. You can use whatever you want to use because the secret sauce is in the actual scheduling question sets. But there's a couple steps in this that we try to use as vetting. The first one is the actual explanation. So we want to congratulate them, of course, but then put forth some standards, some expectations, and let them know that there's no excuse for a no-call, no-show, and that while we do understand that emergencies happen, we want to be notified promptly, and that also we need their camera on because you can't build a relationship. Say you're on Zoom and they don't even have a picture attached. You can't build a relationship with a black square and a name. You want to be able to see physically them on camera. How did they show up? Were they presentable? So this is kind of for the third step in vetting with the Calendly question sets. This is like a precursor to those. Now I'll show you what those Calendly question sets look like. Let's say I think 3:30 is a great time, and then they're met with these questions. Now this is just for the phone sales, right? But where I pull this information from is a resource that I've already created. This is for the first interview. This is for the second interview. And really, the first interview is going to focus, as you will be able to see by some of these questions, getting to know the candidate personally, which is more along the how we conduct the general system and the process between the two stages of interviews. But understand that you want to know, is this a person that's a good fit culturally? But also you want to evaluate their skill sets because they have to be qualified to perform the role. So it's a balance that you want to strike. So some of the questions that we like to ask, namely, we'll talk about the executive assistant. Please provide a summary of your previous experience as an executive assistant or in a similar role. Describe your main responsibilities and how you contributed to the success of the executives you supported. Now that obviously is specific to, are you a good fit for the role in terms of your skill sets, right? And so is this one. How do you prioritize and manage multiple tasks and deadlines in a fast-paced environment? And then we start switching into a little bit more of, hey, how does actually working here align with your personal and professional goals? We want to hear both, but this is where we start to transition. We want to know personally, who are you? What are your goals? So we're asking that question. We want to see if they're going to answer both. And then, why are you interested in joining? And for this is a template, by the way, company name. So of course we put our own company name in here. And then what excites you about our mission, whatever your mission is. So if you didn't have to work at all and you had everything you needed to live, what would you spend your time doing? Now, while we will be looking at the questions and determining whether or not they would be a qualified candidate to even interview, after having passed the other vetting sequences, we definitely, as I said, want to start to get to know them at a more personal level because especially with an executive assistant, they're going to be working with you on a daily basis. And if you don't like them or they don't like you, which is another point, then what's the point, right? So of course you want to make sure that they understand in interview one that you want them to interview you as well. So this is another reason why we ask them, what is it about this mission statement that excites you in our company? Why are you interested in joining this? So for us, we get this all the time. We'll have Real Estate Investing Made Easy's YouTube channel and people who are looking to work with us. They'll say, man, I saw your channel. I just love your vision. I love that you guys are go-givers and you want to provide information and all this stuff for free. So that's one of the things that we hear back as well. So we say, great, we love that. So we want to help people too. Cool. And that's whatever role it is. So for you, it could be, hey, I saw your investment site, your real estate investing website, and I love the solutions that you provide. Whatever it is, that's one way in which you can get feedback from these potential candidates to see if, did they even bother with vetting you? And then also make sure that they understand that you want to get to know them too, and that you expect them to vet you and make sure that you're a good fit for them. So this is how we do it. And another one is, what does a typical day off look like for you? What are some of your hobbies? And what is your passion? What I don't appreciate, as just kind of between you and me and all of YouTube, is that I don't want somebody to say, man, my passion is this job. My passion is,
I want to work for this company.
I don't want to hear that, because before they ever saw the job post or before I ever invited them to apply, they had a life. But this is going to give you a better indication of who they are personally. And this is, I really love that question right here. If you didn't have to work at all, what would you spend your time doing? That's going to tell us a lot. So as far as the phone sales, we really do the same thing. So here's a really good question that I like asking really everybody. I just decided to put it in the phone sales because I want to see how they're going to communicate with people in particular, because this is a communication role with people who are my clients. That is, they're a motivated seller lead. So I want to make sure that they communicate really well. What advice would you give to your best friend if they had asked for help in making a tough decision? I think that's a good question. Drop in a comment if you agree or disagree, but either way, this is what I do. This is my process, and I think it works for myself and a lot of people who are using this process too. Now, there is something I wanted to share with you. Question sets number 2. This is where I'll get into, and I always ask this question, what was your biggest takeaway from the first interview? Please be specific and feel free to write more than one, right? And I'll pretty much ask that on every single one of these. What was your biggest takeaway from the first interview? And then, of course, we'll get into more role-specific stuff. For example, in the phone sales interview, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your ability to adapt to unexpected changes or challenges that arise in a day-to-day life? Discuss one challenge and how you got through it. Guys, I know these aren't easy questions. They're really not. But that's the point. You got to really put the screws to them, so to speak, if you want to make sure that you hire somebody that is going to be a top quality candidate. Heck, even before you decide to make a hiring decision, again, you don't want to waste your time with a nothing burger interview. So you'll be able to gauge using something like this method where, as a third stage of vetting, ostensibly right now, anybody who you're offering an interview to, following this particular system, you've already vetted them enough to say, okay, I think they're probably going to be pretty qualified, so let's move forward with offering them an interview. Now, I promised you that I would show you exactly how to do this. It's really easy. So now that I've gotten out of the collared shirt and slipped into something more comfortable, we can dive into exactly how to create these scheduling question sets so that you can send out these appointments for interviews to your candidates and then vet them automatically. It's really cool. So you just go here to create new if you're in Calendly. Now, of course, you can use any other platform, doesn't matter, as long as it has the ability to do this. Select the event type. It's more than likely going to be a one-on-one. And once you do, you want to name it. So let's just say that you're hiring a cold caller. So cold caller interview, and this is going to be number 1, let's just say. And then if you haven't yet, you should connect Zoom, because the Zoom is the important thing where you're going to meet, or you can use Google Meets or whatever. And then type in the description, in the instructions here, the stuff we covered before. So if you look up right here, we already have some of this. It says congratulations for being selected, blah, blah, blah. And then you can copy and paste. That's if you got these deliverables. And if you didn't, you can recreate this and pause and then check it out and kind of copy it. That's totally fine. And then name this. So cold caller interview 1, make sure that's suitable. And I don't think the color matters, but you know what? I'm going to choose green. Click on next. And then I would recommend setting this, even though you want to keep it to 30 minutes, I would set it to somewhere around like 37 minutes. Why? I don't know. It's cheeky. I kind of like the odd number. It's a little bit unique, and it has people asking the question sometimes, why 37 and not 40 and not 35? Anyway, something I like to do. And make sure that you just check it against your calendar to make sure this event itself is going to be something that doesn't conflict with something else. But on to the actual questions. Here you can see invitee questions. This is where you're going to have them put their name, and you can add each additional question for each additional format. So all you'll do is you'll go through here and you'll either copy and paste these and then paste them right into here and then save. And make sure though that, you know, if there's a long drawn out thoughtful response that you're looking for, that you allow them to have multiple lines, I would recommend always making it required for an interview. You want to make sure that they answer them and that they answer them thoughtfully. The other side to that is don't make it required and see if they're going to, out of their own volition, do it. But that's up to you. I like actually clicking, they have to actually, as a requirement, answer that. So we have this question here. Multiple lines is fine, and then I click apply. And while it seems easy enough to just copy and paste or even come up with the questions to put in these question sets that are used for vetting any candidate, it's not always obvious when to actually ask them, hey, I would like to invite you to an interview. You definitely need to understand what red flags to look for and when to offer them an interview based off of the actual vetting sequences in the email that we discuss in this series. So for that, and to make sure that you choose the right candidate who's going to value your business and then help it grow and scale, you want to click right here where we're going to make it easy.